Hey, Mercy Village Church. Josh Early here. I'm one of the pastors at Mercy Village. I just want to spend a few minutes with you today as we start our day together. As you can see, I'm already ready for work. And so I just wanted to take a little time. Pastor Paul and I had been talking about doing some devotional videos because of the time of COVID and isolation and not being able to gather together as we normally would. We felt like that it might be helpful to do some things. And then in conversation with him about my own personal devotionals with my family and kind of what that looks like, and coming out of Advent season where we spent some time together, the earlies, talking about Jesus, talking about the events of the birth and the manger and the things that lead up to Christmas Day. I felt like it'd be helpful maybe to spend some time looking at some events that happened after Jesus' birth, but before the ministry starts. So mainly, if you look at the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we see the birth of Jesus account is in Matthew and Luke. And then everything else kind of starts with John the Baptist, and there's not a lot of detail given to the time of Jesus' childhood. But one thing I thought was interesting, we started with Matthew chapter 2, which talks about the wise men. And we see this as part of the nativity scene, and that they show up at the barn, at the manger. But if we read here in chapter 2, verse 1, "Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he who is born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose, and have come to worship him. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And assembling all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They told him, In Bethlehem of Judea. For so it is written by the prophet, And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod summoned the wise men secretly, and ascertained from them where that star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, Go, search diligently for the child. And when you have found him, bring me word, that I too may come and worship him. After listening to the king, they went on their way, and behold, the star that they had seen when it rose went before them until it came to rest over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. Then, opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way. And so, I use the ESV Study Bible. They paraphrase these 12 verses by saying, Magi report to the star sign of the birth of the King of the Jews. As much as 2 years have passed since the events of chapter 1. And Matthew highlights God's sovereign care in the infancy account of Jesus the King. And so we see there's as much as 2 years have passed since the birth of Jesus and the wise men show up. A couple little things I just want to share with you that I found were interesting was specifically, the wise men, it says here, would likely have been familiar with Old Testament prophecy through interactions with Jews in Babylon, and they may have remembered Balaam's prophecy, a star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. This was understood by Jews to point to a Messianic deliverer. And so we see that they are very wise when it comes. Obviously they were wise men, but they knew a lot of the Old Testament prophecy, and they had came a great distance as well. We see that it would have taken several weeks for them to journey if they had came from Babylon. The main trade route, it says, was about 800 miles. So this would have taken averaging 20 miles a day. the trip would have taken 40 days. So it took these men 40 days to go from their home city to Bethlehem. And then we also, one of the last things I was going to point out today is that we see the wise men traveled with not just three. They had a large group. They had horses, camels. They traveled this great distance, and they had people who were with them who were would help with like security, and a big group of people that would travel together in these trips for such a long period of time. They would stop and set up camp for the night because of the temperature, the extreme temperatures, and the change in just the terrain and the different things that they would encounter. And so they would travel in big groups. And then we see lastly that they come to the house where Jesus was, and they go in, and they have Mary is there, it says, and they fell down and worshiped him and opened their treasures. And they see that in a dream they're warned, which we see previously that Jesus's father Joseph had been warned or had been spoken to in a dream. And so then here we see that they're warned in a dream to depart out of the country because Herod did not want to worship him, but had other things that he had in mind, which we'll talk about in one of our other devotions. So I just wanted to spend a couple minutes just looking at that. Thought that was interesting. That's something that the boys and Aniston and Faith and I have talked about recently, and I just want to share that. And we'll have a few other videos like this coming out in the next coming weeks. But I hope you all have a great day today, and we'll see you soon.